Alright, so another story that's out today. Slightly, more than slightly annoying. It bothers me actually. So Obama has vowed to preserve the Senate torture report in his presidential library. He's going to keep it there for 12 years. This report is essentially what shows some of the ghastly shit our government was doing to people, trying to get them to find a link between Saddam Hussein and 9/11. You gotta understand that. That's the important point. So it wasn't like we're torturing people because the clock is running. It's Jack Bauer, and he has awesome face hair and all this other stuff, and he's fighting terrorism. No, the Bush administration was torturing people to try to establish a link between 9/11 and Saddam Hussein, a link that did not exist. So, look, John McCain has said it himself. If you torture somebody enough, they say whatever you want them to say. They wanted those guys to say that. And they tortured that guy like 100 sometimes. And I keep saying to myself, if it works, why did it take 100 sometimes to do it? 1, 2, 100 and sometimes you had to torture somebody? Torture is against the law. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, it's even against Geneva Convention. When Obama came out after the Bush administration, and nobody wanted to say torture, even New York Times, and this bastion of liberalism, who you would think would be keeping, honest and keeping an honest record, the gray lady, would not call it what it was. Torture. They didn't want to say torture. They allowed the presidential line of, what did they say? They called it a different name. They gave it a political name. But it was, what is it? Wait, what is it? What is it called? You remember what it's called? They had a different name for it. They didn't want to call it torture. They wanted to call it,
like interrogation.
Enhanced interrogation. That's what it was. Enhanced interrogation. And they went with that shit. The New York Times. They were beating people. Some of the people who we tortured died during that torture. We tortured people to death. The United States of America tortured people to death. So, look. When Obama came out, he came on and he says, yeah, we tortured some folks. And he had folksy way about it. I don't think you can say torture in a folksy way. I don't think you can. I mean, I don't think you can put human suffering and pain that's at the behest of our government. And then for the grossest of reasons of saying, well, shit, man. They didn't have weapons of mass destruction, and there was no link between the country who attacked us. Yeah.
My bad.
My bad. Sorry, guys. My bad. Obama comes out and says we tortured some folks. It's a statement that belies the gravity of the situation. And
was that the verbiage he used?
That's the literal verbiage he used. We tortured some folks. That's how he said it. You can pull a video up on YouTube. Look, there's a problem with that. Look, here's one problem. If there is no punishment for the crimes of power, meaning presidencies or anything else for that matter, if there's no punishment, meaning whatever the president does, even if it's illegal by our own laws, there's no punishment. It's just, it's what it is. Mulligan. Sorry. Then what's to stop the next one from doing it? And what's to stop the next one for that just becoming political norm? Because now Donald Trump is coming in office. And so what? If he already says, I'm going to torture people's families. I'm going to torture people who didn't have shit to do with anything. That's what I'm going to do. I'm Donald Trump. And President Obama has already essentially set the precedent that said, we're not going to do anything about it. Because when Bush left, he did nothing about it. And he knew exactly what it was. You think he doesn't know what's in that torture report? He's keeping that report silent for 12 years because he wants to let those people off the hook. And for the most part, those people have been let off the hook.
I thought I saw something in the news the other day where Bush was gonna be brought up on charges.
Yeah, there was something where a court in California was talking about doing it. Look, great. Honestly, I would honestly make the case that international courts should have did something about it. We killed 1 million people. I keep coming back to that point that it's a damning stat. I mean, it's upwards of 1 million people. And when you're talking about destabilizing a region, you can't tell me that what's going on over there right now has nothing to do with us. We set that place on fire. Libya, Afghanistan, Iraq. We're in Somalia right now. And we're bombing Syria. We're in Syria itself too. Yemen. One of our neighbors, Saudi Arabia, is bombing Yemen to shit right now at this very moment. We're complaining about Syria. Yeah, I'm sorry. Look, I told you in an early video, my bias is life. It is. It what gets me up when I get really annoyed when I see this. What is the value of a life? And how much of that life is extinguished when you kill 1 million people over something that they didn't do? They didn't hit us. They had nothing to do with 9/11. And no, how is there no punishment for that? How do you walk away? How do you become just President George Bush, former President George Bush, and not criminal George Bush? How does that happen? How does that happen? I don't understand that. That blows me away. My wife is like, calm down. I'm calm. I'm just saying. I don't get that. That doesn't make logical sense to me. I don't know how people walk around and think that that's okay. I don't care what he is. I don't give a shit if he's president or not. That he should be held up on charges. If he ever leaves this country, he should be locked up and brought to the Nuremberg trials type stuff. We torture people. You know when Nazis went in and they said, well, I was just following orders. They essentially said, no, that's not enough of a reason for you not to be put in prison or killed for what you were doing. So yeah, I don't give a shit if they're American troops. I don't give a shit if he's a president. That's not right. How do you cause that much damage? And how does the Democratic president who's coming in office say that's okay? And now that he said that's okay, let's see if it's okay under Trump, who said he's going to torture people's families. Let's see if that's okay then. Let's see if it's, the presidential norm that Barack Obama gave now persists to Trump. So good job, Obama. Good job.